Hi,
Hi.
today we are reviewing Drishyam 2, the Malayalam version, available on Amazon Prime, starring Mohanlal.
Drishyam 2 is subtitled The Resumption, and it takes place 6 years after the first movie. In the first movie, a certain murder had happened, or a death had happened, and this family manages to kind of evade law. 6 years on, they've moved on. Mohanlal, who's the head of the family, is now a theatre owner. He is also working on his own film script. But somehow the family has not managed to move on, and they're still haunted by images of what happened 6 years ago on that fateful night, including his elder daughter. Even the mother is completely in a state of shock as well. Neither have the rest of the village, where they are discussing the murder all the time. They're discussing where the body is hidden, whether the arms of law will catch up, etc., etc. And then through and through, we find out even the police may not have forgotten, and there are some efforts happening in the background to try and nab this person, simply because the murdered was the son of a influential police officer. And that's pretty much the kind of story. What did you think? And I mean, we've seen the first one in Hindi, and now we saw this one in Malayalam. What were your thoughts?
So, when it began, it was a little difficult to grasp in the sense they were meandering, it seemed, in the beginning. And one wondered what's happening, why are they focusing on this particular dialogue and this particular thing that he's doing, etc. And then eventually it catches pace, and then it ties up beautifully, neatly, and you realize why that was all being done, you know portrayed certain people in a certain light, etc.
And comparisons between the Hindi one with Ajay Devgan and this one with Mohanlal.
um, I'm not sure we can compare. I mean, that I loved the Hindi version. This I love too. I mean, and this was a second part, right?
Yes,
So can't say.
I thought the setting was brilliant. The nice rustic place in Kerala, the kind of environment, the three or four bus conductors who have nothing better to do than to gossip at their usual chai wala place, and the kind of walking around the village, and how it earlier had supported Mohanlal, but now because he's wealthy, they're not so sure. And I thought there were these lovely touches throughout. There's a neighbor who's moved in, where the wife is suffering from her drunk husband, and that whole dynamic, and how they can't sleep alone. And there were so many lovely touches. The wife who, despite the husband Mohanlal pleading with her that don't keep asking me, be quiet, but she can't stop herself, and she's got her own trauma in her nightmare, and she's pestering her husband to tell her to, etc., etc. I thought there were these lovely touches throughout the film, including the way he's shown to be invested in trying to make a movie of his own. He's talking with a very prominent screenwriter, and several such small things shown through the movie, which, as Ritu said, then come back and kind of tie in quite beautifully.
Exactly.
So really enjoyed the movie.
Right.
For me, much more than kind of the one that we saw with Ajay Devgan, because it was very different. It seemed more grounded. It seemed more real, far more real actually than the Hindi one, which was set in Goa. So for me, that's how kind of that dynamic. And this movie somehow stays with you because I like thrillers. Yes. Where you put yourself in the shoes of the protagonist, and you think, how would you react? What would you do? And this one kind of stays inside as well because yeah, it's fascinating. And there's a new IGP. There's a new so that kind of works as well.
Right. The expressions, the Mohanlal's expressions, his eyes, like they say so much. And only thing in my head was it's a part two. So initially it became in my head part two. Normally they're not able to sort of, do it nicer, but I mean, there's no comparison between the Hindi version and this one, but I would say that this was even better as a part two, is my point. So
Great. What would be your rating?
8.
Oh wow, 8 for me as well. So we are in complete unanimity. Do let us know your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.